Hello, and welcome to the sixth episode of 20 Minutes that I've uploaded uh, to my Forest War channel. Today, I just want to talk about my goals, restate them, restate sort of why I'm recording these to begin with, and then I guess plug the things I'll be doing. Yeah, and talk about a bit what I'm doing. Um, the video quality, I'm sorry on these, is weird. I think my camera is supposed to be better, but I just haven't been able to find the right resolution or focus. I'll have to keep messing with it. So I apologize. I think it's blurrier than it should be. I have a pretty decent webcam, and this is like the same quality as my old webcam currently. So I apologize on that. The audio is where I think the main value should be found, anyways. But I just want to let anyone watching know that I recognize the quality, and it should improve at some point once I figure out the settings. So that's just my webcam quality. As I've said before, I want to stream. My PC is not the greatest, so I don't think I can really record and stream at the same time for the quality I want, because for like recording and uploading stuff, I want to record a bit higher quality than I would stream with. So requires like more processing and power. So for those people with extra money to spare, consider me in the future. I'll keep working along at this until I can. Yeah, I'll just keep chugging along. So I want to keep doing this podcast. I also have the thought of wanting to do some type of interview podcast with people where I'll just try and let people talk, because I find that happens naturally whenever I'm around people. They just end up talking endlessly. So I can probably utilize that effect I have. I guess a lot of it is I don't speak so much, and people can't stand silence, so they just like fill it in subconsciously. Gets rather annoying at times. But, with the formality of like a podcast, I would be able to direct it a bit more to my liking, direct the conversation. And I would try not to talk much at all. I would just ask questions and let people talk, and then occasionally give my own opinion. But I would rather speak my opinion here than on this interview type podcast I'm talking about right now. But it's something I would do, and I want this to be like short, concise, 20 minutes, and really, if I'm being honest, 20 minutes is a bit lengthy for a concise podcast, in my opinion. I could probably distill everything I want to say down to like 5 or 10 minutes. I just want this to sort of be an off the cuff podcast, though. I've thought about, like, every time I consider it, the idea of writing down notes and an outline comes to mind, but I never actually write much of that down. The last podcast, I brought up a definition of the word drug, and that was my sole reference going into the podcast. A time or two before, I've written down like maybe 3 or like 5 words one time. So I kind of like that way of going into this, to where it's more improv and mental notes that I have to rely on, rather than some physical stimulus to help me. So I think I'll continue with that. Regarding my Twitch channel, okay, so I'll lay out everything I want to be creating online, but sort of, so I guess a persona. There's a lot of fun stuff, like fun ideas I have. But I'll start with the ideas I'm solid on, which is, namely, so first, this podcast, 20 minutes being the name, and just sort of following this 20-minute a day practice regimen I heard about from a TED Talk 5 years ago. So here I am 5 years late, sticking to his advice, partially. We'll see how consistent I can get with that. What my rate of completion will be as we go on. Because currently it's a very low percentage. I don't want to say much more than that out of embarrassment. Anyways, this podcast, named 20 Minutes, I want to continue doing for the foreseeable future, years. Then, so I want a YouTube channel, a Patreon, a Twitch channel, probably some other media channels, maybe like an Instagram or something. I have a Facebook, but I get baited into raging every time I log into it, so I find it seems to me more productive to not spend my time on Facebook, and less irritating. I get far too stressed, and that's just a general problem I have, being stressed by other people, often for what I consider to be their ignorance or lack of thought on a subject. Mostly it's just because I've arrived to some conclusion, and then I hear or see something that contradicts the conclusion I've come to. And seeing that, I can't just let it go by, because whatever conclusion I've come to, I feel strongly about. And that I should like whatever, I see something like that, I just feel it needs to be corrected. Like, how, it's a disservice to my community to let that go by unchecked. And that's been, that thing needing to be checked has been various things. And I imagine it will continue throughout my life, to where I see things I feel need to be checked. So, to my future self, I just hope I continue having the strength to check them. And so, I'm not really. I don't want. I'm not fleeing Facebook to be like afraid to check things. It's just, I feel like my checking things, so like challenging things on Facebook, just was not that productive and just served to get me into arguments that will waste time and create unneeded stress. Anyways, that's a bit of my rant about Facebook. So to recap, I want a YouTube channel, Twitch, and a Patreon. The Patreon being where I would initially ask for money. I thought about starting a GoFundMe, and, well, I haven't just thought about it. I went through the process of creating one, maybe two. I probably forgot the login info to both by now. So, I might create one in the future, but that's just because I need money to eat and buy a better computer. There's a few things I need to make some money. And so I need to make money, so I'll create a Patreon and ask for people to fund my life. Is kind of the general way I think about it. But that'll amount to mostly like, I'll try and state with like what I'm using money for, which will be to fund my gaming addiction. And I like to take puffs of the reeferino, so to speak. Basically, food, water, or games, food, and herbs are what I spend my money on. I also like to bike, so I'll try to continue. And I also could make videos about that as well. I have a GoPro, and I can record bike rides or whatever if people are interested in that type of thing. So I'll try to keep mentioning that, and if if I gain any sort of following, try to keep mentioning it and see if people would be interested in like biking videos and stuff. So I probably should do that. So in general, I want to make this 20 minutes podcast, make videos about me playing games, do guides probably at some point, coaching of people on Twitch. So I think that would be good live stream content, is to coach people. Could also do videos. I want to do like videos of game analysis. I also kind of have that desire for like analyzing TV shows or movies, but I don't care as much about that, and other people cover the topic enough to where I just don't care too much to spend my time on that. Video games are most of what I care to spend my time on. So, I'm just kind of talking in circles here, I guess. Currently, I want to keep working on my Divinity 2 Honor Mode playthrough. I will also look to do a playthrough of, like a recorded playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. World of Warcraft is one of the games I care a lot about, so probably keep playing that. I play currently only classic, but just I play it pretty casually currently. I just get bored of it, I guess. It's too raiding is too much of a chore and not enough of a challenge. So I get really bored of it in classic. To speak on that just a bit, I feel like that could have been solved if they just disabled world buffs in raids, and that would make it so much better in my opinion. I'll leave it at that. I have a profound love for Diablo 2, but I can't see myself playing a ton of it without like a demand from people because a couple of years ago I pretty much played it to my heart's desire. Played through on hardcore on a couple different characters, and spent. I won't even. There's no need to even mention like specifically how much time I spent on Diablo 2 because the amount of time in my life I've spent on video games in general is probably up there with the top. Uh, it's kind of eerie even to consider, but in terms of time logged, probably one of the highest in the world. Top 1%. I wouldn't say like top 1,000 or anything, because I imagine there are people who've logged more hours than me. I have spent time in school, in sports, and whatnot. And I figure there must be people who've just like dropped out of school at age 12 and just played video games from then on. And they would probably beat me in hours logged. Anyways, to reiterate the point of, or my intention for this podcast again, is just as I want to create like a beacon people can visit, spend time with. You know, just something to be like, oh yeah, something to look forward to in the day. A while back, I found myself kind of relying on podcasts as something to look forward to. And I still do, I figure, but it's not as vital as it was at one point for me. There's a certain point a while ago where, yeah, podcasts were basically the thing that would get me out of bed. Because I'd be like, oh yeah, but I've got this podcast to look forward to on Tuesday, this one on Sunday, and uh, you know, the consistent schedule is a comforting thing. So I want to make this a daily thing and try to provide some sort of comfort to a few other people while also venting and working on myself, practicing my speech and everything, and trying to, yeah, develop myself. I'm a bit stunted, if I'm honest. So I'm here to work on that. With a bit of time left, I'll just say to anyone listening, uh, stay strong, pay attention, question authority, think for yourself, things of those nature. If you're looking for, I was going to say interesting people to listen to, but I won't for now. I'm stalling. and now I'm gone.